who have seen many places in Andhra Pradesh, developed a passion for Telugu and its culture. It's our honor to introduce very dedicated couple, Robert Yan and Mary Yoss. Robert Yan is an enthusiastic musician, social worker who lives in Eindhoven, visiting India from last about 25 years every year. He is closely associated with number of NGOs in Andhra Pradesh. Robert and his wife have been especially closely associated with Big Street Children Project in Vijayawada. Apart from voluntary service, they are also very passionate about India, especially Andhra Pradesh. Robert guides different tours and themes, textile, East Coast tours, those are the main ones. With that note, I would like to ask Robert and Mary to share some of their experiences in India and what they see here today. Thank you.
అందరికీ నమస్కారం. నా పేరు రోబర్ట్, and that's about everything I say in Telugu. That's all. Happy Ugadi. Indeed, I'm Robert, as you told, and I'm not from Andhra. I'm from Eindhoven. I'm from this place. Actually, I'm from Valkenswaard, a village near Eindhoven. Some of you may know it. We, my wife, children and me spend large parts of our lives in India, mainly in Andhra Pradesh. On this special occasion of Ugadi, Varadaraju and his wife Sunita, who are part of the Telugu Association, asked me to tell you something about our Indian adventures. If you told me in the year 2000 that in 2015 I would have to address a gathering of Telugu people living in Eindhoven on the occasion of Ugadi, I would not have believed you. In 2000, Eindhoven was still a provincial town. In those days, I never saw an Indian. I never heard an Indian language, let alone Telugu. Nowadays, I meet Indians everywhere. I see them cycling to their work at the high-tech campus or waiting for a bus. I meet families in the city center, shopping in the Indian grocery shops like Rohit, or the shop in the Kruisstraat, or in department stores like V&D. I always try to catch their language, and if they happen to speak Telugu, I sometimes say hello and ask them where they come from. I don't speak Telugu, or just a tiny bit, but I do recognize the language among other Indian languages. The increase of the number of Indians in Eindhoven is part of a wider development. Our city has internationalized tremendously. The Indian languages are but a few of the many languages we can hear in its streets today. All this is related to globalization, but it's also the result of the emergence and development of local institutions and companies such as the high-tech campus and its constituent parts, the Technical University, and our local design academy, to name a few. While in Holland, in the 1990s, Eindhoven was regarded as a rather backward place, at present it's definitely one of the places to be. It even is considered to be the most intelligent and smartest place in the world. And that is probably because you all are here. By now, you all may wonder why I'm standing here talking to you. I'm not a very important person. The reason may be this: while you all came to Holland to work and in the process got to know a little of our culture and language, I did the same with respect to India, in particular Andhra Pradesh. It started some 25 years ago. I studied cultural anthropology and had been doing some low-income housing research in Karachi, Pakistan. At university they thought I had done a good job and they invited me to come up with a research proposal for long-term PhD research. Because Karachi had proven to be a rather violent and difficult place to live, I wanted to go to India. And after 2 years of struggle with learned committees, I was allowed to do so. That I ended up in Vijayawada, the present capital of Andhra Pradesh, is pure coincidence. It could have been any other medium-sized, fast-growing city in India. After my wife, my daughter, and me had settled in Vijayawada, I selected a second research city in order to include a comparative element, Visakhapatnam. For those who know the places, yes. In Vijayawada, we live opposite Loyola College, near Gunadala. In Visakhapatnam, we live in Chennavalder, opposite the government mental hospital. At that time, it was a horrible place. I mean, not Visakhapatnam, but the mental hospital. When described, it was pure misery. My wife went there every day to feed the patients. Over time, it has developed quite positively. One of the many signs that the quality of life in India has improved considerably. The aim of my research was to reconstruct the growth history of both cities. I wanted to find out how different income groups got access to land and housing and how this has changed with time. The field work for my research boiled down to exploring and mapping the complete cities and wider peripheries and reconstructing its histories. Visiting nearly all subdivisions, slums, old tenement quarters, talking to inhabitants, land brokers, farmers, real estate companies, slum leaders, slum dwellers, politicians, architects, builders, lawyers, and public servants, including IAS officers. Their support was inevitable. In the end, I've written a bulky dissertation. I have some copies with me for those who are interested, which was published as a book later on. I also published a number of smaller booklets and articles, and I made 2 films which were used by the Training and Research Wing of HUTCO, Housing and Urban Development Corporation of India. In June 1992, on the first day I arrived in Vijayawada, I found a flat, with the help of an officer who worked for the Urban Development Authority. I had traveled from Delhi to Vijayawada by train and I was tired. However, the officer wanted me to come along with him to a meeting of one of the local Rotary Club circles. He insisted. At this meeting there appeared to be a presentation by another European, a big man with a beard. He had an Indian name, Manihara, and an Indian wife, Bhakti. He gave a lecture on his project, a large street children project in Vijayawada, SKCV. This seemed an ideal place to work for my wife, Marie. My wife is a teacher. The big street children project developed as a model project. An ideal and beautiful place for street children, many of whom found their way in mainstream life. They got a good job, married, got children, and so on. It became our home in India, SKCV. In cooperation with Bhakti, the wife of Manihara, my wife started a special non-formal school for street children, and later on we started a foundation in Holland, collecting funds for the project in India. We went to schools, companies, clubs, etc. for financial support. The project grew from a small place for boys to a complete boys' village on the banks of the River Krishna. A separate night shelter was built and later on a girls' home on the other side of the river. It was a great, unique place that largely built on using the experience of street children themselves in managing the project. In 2009, Marihana died, and although he had done his best to ensure that things would go on as before, the management changed completely, and not for the better. At present, we are trying to find a solution to the problems, but it won't be easy. After completing my research and getting my PhD, I started a company with a friend of mine, Dadi. It's a Telugu name. It means, as you all know, it means the way. Organized special tours to India and importing Indian handicraft products. Have a look at my Gadi.nl website. The idea was that non-touristy places like Vijayawada and its wider surroundings are great places to visit by a certain type of foreign tourists, especially those wanting to get in touch with the everyday India of the Indians. It was our aim to organize tours in which people would travel in an Indian way, stay in Indian hotels, eat local food, and meet people working for local NGOs. The Street Children Project plays an important part in the Vijayawada program of our tours. The boys who were once the pupils of my wife now guided the tourists who took part in my tours. I organized an East Coast tour, and later on I specialized in textile tours, concentrating on the work of various artisans. The weavers of Upada, Konduru, Pochampalli, Mangalagiri, Venkatagiri, or the block printers of Pedana, Machalipaja. And of course, the Kalamkari artist of Sri Kalahasti here in Tirupati. I had a great time organizing and guiding these tours, meeting many different kinds of people and learning a lot about textiles and India in general. And because of the tours, I spent a lot of time in India. That explains that I developed a soft spot for India, in particular Andhra Pradesh. It more or less became our second motherland. I started learning Telugu by myself years ago, but because of a lack of time, and because nearly all our Indian friends speak English, we never were forced to study, and my knowledge of Telugu remained very modest. Last year, we searched for a Telugu teacher, and through the local Indian network came in touch with Raju and his wife Sunita, who are part of TANE. Since then, we have spent some time with Sunita learning to speak Telugu a little better, but I still can't say anything meaningful. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Have a nice remainder of the day. All the best.
Thanks, Robert, for the kind words and also outside perspective about India and Andhra Pradesh. I would like to ask Varadaraju to come onto the stage. Robert, 1 second. We cannot let you go like that. To felicitate Robert. Thank you.